I have a confession to make. Come here. My confession for you is I hate performance appraisals. There are so many ways for them to go wrong, like a million, not to mention all the errors that can happen. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, our performance appraisal errors. We have a whole list for us to go through in terms of what they are and how they work. So get ready, buckle up. We're talking about performance appraisal errors. Performance appraisal errors are a common thing, unfortunately, which is why it's being talked about and covered in your HRCI and SHRM certification exams. My name is Jessica Miller Merrill. I'm the founder of WORKOLOGY and the creator of the ACE the HR exam course. We help HR leaders ace their HR certification exams, HRCI or SHRM. We're talking today about performance appraisal errors. Now, while you're working through this video, you might recognize some of these errors because they are similar to interview bias. These errors happen because of managers and leaders who give this feedback and this information. They have their own conscious or unconscious biases about the person or the situation or some life experience related or unrelated. So we're diving into the different types of performance appraisal errors. The first type of performance appraisal error is rater error. Rater error. Rater error occurs when you give the wrong person a certain performance review score or rating. Think about it like this. When you're in the lunch line and you go through and you tell them that you want maybe a la carte, an extra, pizza in your lunch, they charge that extra pizza to Newman.
Sample?
Not Miller. My last name is Miller. And so that would be an example of rater error. You meant to give Newman a 3-star rating, but you gave Miller a 3-star rating. Now, this could get you into some legal hot water if it is found that discrimination maybe occurred as a result of protected classes. But rater error is a common appraisal error. The second type of performance appraisal error is the halo effect. Think about this. One trait outshines the other traits of that person. For example, maybe you have somebody who is a top performer. They are the best programmer at the organization, but they're always habitually late. So you let things slide because they're a good performer and you give them a higher performance appraisal rating. This is an example of the halo effect. The horn effect is really the opposite of the halo effect. The next one is the horn effect. That is when you rate somebody lower and the focus is on an area where they're not maybe performing very well. Maybe your focus is on that guy who always is late. So that seems to be more important. He might be a good performer, but he's always late. So it's basically the halo effect, but in reverse. The next performance appraisal error is the recency effect. Looking at recent behaviors to determine what someone's annual performance appraisal might be. Instead of focusing on the entire 12 months, they're just looking at maybe the last 4 weeks or the last 6 weeks. You see this happen all the time, particularly when somebody's performance decreases very rapidly. We suddenly say, oh, let's get rid of them. They haven't been a great performer, but maybe they're just having extra stress, something that's going on in their life right now that's causing them to decrease their performance. That is the recency effect. Your next type of performance appraisal error is the contrast effect.
Ain't right, you're a schmuck. Look at it.
That is when you maybe have one really great person. They exceed expectations everywhere. They're such an amazing outperformer. They make everybody else on your team look like schmucks. That is the contrast effect. Bias error is when a manager or leader gives someone a rating on their performance appraisal because of their age, sex, ethnicity, religion, whatever. So a manager might say all women are going to get low performance ratings while all men might exceed expectations. This is an example of bias error. Strictness error is when your manager is incredibly strict and rates everyone lower because they have such high standards. The opposite of that is leniency error, and that is the opposite. They rate everybody really high, even if they're low or average performers. Another type of error which is common is central tendency, and that is where everybody's middle of the road. There aren't any high performers or there aren't any low performers. Years ago, when I worked in corporate HR, my boss had to rate me for my performance review, and he had only been there really a couple months. He didn't have the full picture of how I performed and if I was performing well. This is an example of sampling error, when the manager or the individual who's rating another person only has a small sample of information to gauge their performance for the entire year. This could be like my example, or maybe somebody's working remotely and they don't interface at all with that individual, but they're charged with giving them a performance review. The last type of performance appraisal error is similar or different than me. That person might be the same, so we give them a higher rating because we have common interest or a similar background, or different, so I might give them a lower performance rating. Well, there you have it. This is the list of performance appraisal errors. It's a lengthy one, right? I encourage you to come up with examples for yourself so that you can remember them when it comes time for your HR certification exam. It's really easy to get them mixed up. So come up with an example or a mnemonic or a situation that you can relate to help you remember when it comes exam time. My name is Jessica Miller-Merrill, and I'm the founder of Workology and the creator of the ACE, the HR exam. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope that this was helpful in you remembering and understanding performance appraisal errors.